All right, guys, welcome back to the This and That Sports Podcast, brought to you by Logie Bear and Matt. Um, we're a little behind schedule. This is supposed to be posted in T minus 2 hours,
Couple
two and a
hours
half
here.
hours. Yeah, we'll get
We're
there.
we're we're late, but we're early.
We're early because it's 9:30 in the morning, so we're feeling better about ourselves. I'm feeling great. I'm feeling energized.
Opposed to recording at 10 o'clock at night, where we're
Yeah,
both just dead tired after working labor all day. So,
exactly, bro.
but yeah, let's dive
Yeah.
into it. Just
Wow.
kind of into our pre-show. Just our social media's been growing real nice. Um,
Oops, I'm sorry.
our Instagram's got 261 followers, so we've grown quite a bit on there. So that's looking good.
Yeah, TikTok, we are at 578, which has been really good. I think we've grown almost 200 subscribers on TikTok. Facebook, we're almost to 50 followers. The big thing on Facebook, though, is we had 25,000 views this past week, which is pretty cool to see. And then YouTube, it actually just changed because I just saw we got a subscriber on YouTube right now. So
Nice.
we are now officially at 30, I believe. So cool there. Uh, and then kind of to go over our last podcast on YouTube, we got about 20 views on YouTube, which is a little bit lower than the last one. Lower than the last one. And then Spotify is up. We're at 18 views on Spotify. So
Nice.
uh, growing on Spotify, which is what we like to see. And then obviously want to get the YouTube back up and running. But
And
overall, pretty
of
good week.
yeah, of course, TikTok is blowing up again. 578. We're at 578 followers, so getting close to that jersey giveaway. So
Getting close, dude. It's going to be fun.
I'm
Um,
excited.
yeah, overall, a good week for us. We filmed a lot of content. We have some new ideas coming. We got some microphones to attach to us so we can actually start making outside content, which we're both pretty hyped about.
That's
Um, we posted a video a couple days ago of IRL content asking if you guys wanted to see it. That got a lot of love, so we are for sure going to be doing it when we get those microphones in. So I'm excited for that.
yeah. Other than that, we had a good week for content and stuff like that and following. But as far as betting goes, we didn't have a great week. Neither of us. I had a terrible week betting.
I had an
I think
awful week.
Logan had a terrible week as well. I had a few that were super close to hitting, but other than that, I didn't hit a single one. I mean, did you even get close on any?
I'm double checking right now. There's one I barely missed. It was the Golden State Lakers game, the one where the Lakers won. I had Klay Thompson over 19 points and he didn't hit. And that one would have paid out $160. So
Nice.
missed that one. And then I had another basketball one, 4 leg that missed because Golden State lost. And then I had the Suns game, which was an absolute blowout and nothing hit. Absolute, not a single thing hit on that one besides Jamal Murray over points. So
Nice. Yeah, that's pretty rough. I completely shit the bed as well. I had a few really close hits, but just kind of missed them by either a leg or two. I had Xander Bogaerts, Manny Machado, Juan Soto, and Fernando Tatis Jr. to all record 2 or more bases. That would have been plus 1,483. So that would have been a hefty payout, but all of them hit except Xander Bogaerts. He was the only one to not record 2+ bases, so missed out on that one. I also had the Braves money line, George Springer to get a hit, Ronald Acuna to get a hit, Sean Murphy to get a hit, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. to get a hit, and Spencer Strider to get the over on 8.5 strikeouts. The only 2 legs I did miss was the Braves money line and Sean Murphy to get a hit. Other than that, they all hit. That would have been plus 1,176. I had another one just taking the money lines on the Mariners, Mets, and Braves. The only one that did not hit, of course, was the Braves. That would have been plus 422. And then I also took the money lines on Mariners, Braves, Brewers, Phillies, and Astros at plus 1,105. Of course, the only one that didn't hit was the Braves. So Braves are really let me down this week. Uh, Other than that, I had a couple out there that I threw down that could have hit, but some of them didn't even get close. So
Sucks.
unfortunate week. Unfortunate week.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's really nothing we can do.
Yeah.
You win
I'm
some. I mean,
just
once for me, I feel like once the NFL comes back, I'll be hitting more bets because I
yeah.
feel more comfortable betting on it. I'm just trying to make some bets right now. I feel comfortable with basketball. It just hasn't been in my favor because I feel a little too optimistic. Because I'm like, oh yeah, they only need 28 points, dude. That's easy. And then I'll do it, and then like they get 15, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
So we're in the NFL. I feel like if I could do over unders on scores and yards, I feel more comfortable doing that. So
Yeah, and I'll do the same. And baseball is super hard to bet on because it could go any direction at any time. So it's really tough to judge like when somebody's going to get a hit, when somebody's not going to get a hit. I mean, it could all the favors in the world could be going towards this guy getting a hit, but just for some reason it just doesn't fall. He could hit the ball
yeah.
as hard as anybody did that day, but right at him. So it's tough to judge. But yeah, football, once we get over there, that's kind of where we really thrive. Um, Baseball, I can do okay in, but
I mean, it's kind
again,
of
it's
obvious. This
hard.
is a football podcast. Of course, we're going to be better at
I
football.
mean, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Uh,
But
cu- couple
there,
things. Oh, you're good.
there's one question I did want to toss at you before we kind of dive into some news, and it's an interesting question just because I saw it floating around somewhere.
Okay.
But
Okay, I'm ready.
if you could choose one player, any player, to have an injury-free career, but it can only be one player, who would it be?
Injury-free career.
Injury-free career.
Ooh, like, is their career have to be already done?
No, it could be anybody.
That's a good question, dude. Because like, you could go with like
You could go back. You could go forward.
yeah. I mean, you could go with the guy you're wearing right now. You could
Hmm.
go with Lamar Jackson, so then we could see if he's actually worth the hype or not. You could do uh, like a Christian McCaffrey. You could do Christian McCaffrey would be a good one too because he's hurt every year. Like he just, I mean, it's not a longevity thing, but it's like a
Trent
couple.
Williams. Trent
Trent
Williams.
Williams, yeah, Trent Williams is a good one, dude. There's just like down the rabbit hole is
There's so
really
many good ones. I think overall for baseball, that guy behind me right there, Grady Sizemore, I would have to pick him just because he would have been like a crazy top five center fielder in the major leagues with Cleveland for God knows how long. But he,
oh.
of course, got shortened due to injuries. But
Ooh, I know who. I just thought of it. I got you. Todd Gurley.
ooh, that's a
Todd
good one.
Gurley, because he had a great, he was balling out, and then he had the whole knee thing. Then went to Atlanta, hardly played there, and then he's no longer in the league. So I think if he would have stayed healthy, been fully healthy, he would have been one of the greats. I feel like.
I think if you can consider CTE in an injury and like I don't know
Could be.
Antonio
Uh,
Brown, would he still be playing? How well would he be playing?
yeah, that's a good one too, dude. That's a very good question.
Yeah, I liked it a lot. That's why I wanted to bring it up. But
That's a
yeah,
good
I
one.
definitely think RG3 for me, of
RG3,
course.
I feel RG3 because especially that his year when he took you guys to the playoffs, I was like, dang, this dude's legit. And then
And we haven't had a quarterback since then, really. So
it's your boy. What do you mean? Was Alex Smith there afterwards?
I mean, yeah, but he wasn't like lighting it up like RG3 was. We haven't had like a stud like that since
Captain Kirk, baby.
Captain Kirk.
Captain Kirk Cousins.
That was around the same time.
I was around the same time. There's just two things basketball related I wanted to hit real quick. One, I did go to Game 6 of the Suns game. was an absolute blowout, waste of my time. It was so bad because we were like a little bit higher up. It was so bad we went down to the floor level, and the lady literally just said, "Go sit down somewhere." So we
Really?
literally like the fourth quarter, we were probably like 10 rows up from the court, and which was
Wow.
cool. That was cool. I think I posted it on the Instagram, but that was cool. But other than that, complete blowout. And then on top of that, Monty Williams, the coach for the Suns, has been fired. So we are on the lookout for a new coach. And then right before the podcast started, maybe about 30 minutes ago, the 76ers coach Doc Rivers has also been fired. There's a really funny group on YouTube, RDC World One, that makes fun of Doc Rivers on the 76ers. Not really makes fun of him. I'll have to show you the video, but essentially he acts like he's Doc Rivers and he's like reading off player stats and talking crap about the players. It's really funny. I'll show it to you. But yeah, those are the news right now. Obviously, with the season still going on, there's probably going to be more to come in the next couple weeks. But as of right now, there's been 2 firings so far. So, yeah, it was sad though. So, with that, dude, let's just get into some news.
Yeah.
The big one that hit like maybe the day after we recorded. Jalen Carter is being sued by Devin Willock Sr. Due to his son's death in a car crash with illegal racing, I believe. Jalen Carter was in the car. He actually left the scene of the crime and then got a misdemeanor charge for it. But Devin Willock is suing for $40 million. But there's like a couple people involved that he's suing. So he's suing Jalen Carter for $10 million, suing another guy for some odd amount, and then he's suing University of Georgia for the rest. So we'll see how that goes.
Crazy.
I mean, it's not big news because it's not like really hitting headlines. So I know Georgia came out and said that they're going to be fighting this. And then Jalen Carter hasn't said anything. So we don't know if he's just going to do it and handle it or if he's going to fight it. So
Fair enough. Yeah, another big thing that hit, I think, around the same time that we were recording was the Zadarius Smith got traded to the Browns. The Browns actually kind of steal this one. I don't understand the trade, but maybe the Vikings are trying to clear cap space. But the Browns get Zadarius Smith, and they also get a 2025 6th round pick and a 7th round pick. The Vikings, all they get in return is a 2024 and a 2025 5th round pick. So
that's so.
they get some draft capital, but I mean, it's weird to me. I
In the
don't get
fifth
it.
round, dude. I mean, that's not like. I mean, Zadarius Smith, I think the beginning of the season with Minnesota, he was pretty good, and then he kind of fell off a little bit, I'm pretty sure. But
Yeah.
still, dude, you gave up your guys' probably top edge to now give him to the Browns that has Myles Garrett already.
Yeah, that's going to be crazy. I mean, he's a great pass rusher, so it's
Yeah.
not like they need to ask him to step into coverage or anything.
Yeah. I mean, he's a baller. I mean, I think they got a lot out of it because, I mean, even though you say they got draft capital, the Browns still got a 2025 6th and 7th round pick. So
Yeah.
they didn't really get much, I guess. I mean, they'll have 2 5th round picks in 2025. And yeah, the only thing that was possibly because of the whole contract thing, but they haven't come out and said why that trade occurred, if he requested a trade or if they were trying to save on cap space. I feel like they weren't even that. I mean, maybe they're trying to make some rooms to restructure like Justin Jefferson. I don't know if has he gotten a contract?
Not yet. He's still on his
So,
rookie deal.
so maybe they're trying to get some room to give him a contract in Minnesota, or they just got.
Let me check on that.
They just
I could
got
be
what's his
wrong.
face. I feel like I would have known if he got one, but I could also be wrong on that. But yeah, I think it was super. I mean, the Browns, I feel like still have a lot to do offensively, but defense, I feel like their defense is really good.
Oh, yeah. Their defense is pretty solid. I mean, I can't put that past them, but a lot of their season hinges on Deshaun Watson.
That is a very good point. I mean, it does. And obviously, we saw last season. I think maybe since this whole allegation thing probably might die down a little bit next season, we shall see.
Yeah,
It
we'll
might
see.
still it might still be bad for him. I mean, I don't think it'll ever go away, but I mean,
So Justin Jefferson is still on his rookie deal. They just picked up the option on him, so the 5th-year option. So he'll be due for a contract.
yeah. So maybe they're trying to make some space. I don't know how long Zadarius Smith's contract was when they got him from Green Bay though.
I thought it was only like 2 years. I didn't think it was very long.
Uh, I don't know. We'll see. I mean, we'll see what Minnesota does. I feel like Minnesota's going downhill right now, but we'll get to that a little bit later when we start talking about the big stuff. Uh, but we could. I mean, I think the Browns got a huge steal for this guy, and I think Minnesota kind of lost a little bit. I mean, or they're maybe trying to restructure not only Justin Jefferson, they also have T.J. Hawkinson they just received
That's
from
true.
Detroit. I mean, they have a lot of people on offense that they'll probably need to, but we'll see. In next news, Sam Darnold, possibly a week 1 starter for the 49ers.
Yeah, it's looking more and more likely. I think they're going to roll with him week 1. I think they need to give Brock Purdy time for him to heal from the surgery because I believe he got Tommy John. So
Yeah, he did.
if he did get Tommy John, that's usually a full year. So they'll want to give him a little bit of time, and then Trey Lance. It's looking like he could be traded. He could be on the
Yeah.
outs. So that's another
Um,
point is that he could be going somewhere. Who knows?
Yeah, so with the Brock Purdy thing, I think I saw last week that they said that he might be throwing by training camp. That doesn't mean he's game ready or anything like that, but I think they were saying
Sure.
he was throwing the ball by that point. So it could be like Sam Darnold kind of was a placement until Brock Purdy comes back. But yes, back to the Trey Lance thing. I did read the other day that it is more and more likely that he will be traded, which is kind of weird because they really tried to structure their team around him. That's why they were getting rid of Jimmy G. I felt so bad for Jimmy G that last season when like they thought they're like, oh yeah, he's getting traded, and he wouldn't even practice with the team. He would be off on the side so he doesn't get fined, but he's like practicing by himself. And then they signed him to a 1 year. I think they signed him to a 1 year deal with San Francisco, and now he's with the Raiders, of course. But what would you say? Say you're let's say Washington, right? Let's say you're Washington's front office. What would you give for Trey Lance?
It's tough to say. I mean, San Francisco's going to ask for a lot because he was, I mean, what, the 3rd overall pick? Um, to me, he didn't prove enough. Then he got injured. It's tough to say. You're banking on him coming back 100% healthy and being the guy that the 49ers projected him to be, which arguably was questionable at the time. So it's tough to give up more than like 1 or 2 mid-round, late-round picks to go and get this guy that needs to come back healthy for your squad and perform at a high level. So,
Right.
excuse me.
A couple teams that it says that makes sense for him. There's actually a front runner right now is the Vikings. The reason why the Vikings are the front runner is because Kirk Cousins is in his last year of his contract. So getting some fresh legs in there with and Kirk's getting old, so I don't know if they would want to keep him. So
And he's just
Minnesota,
never good in pressure. Never
yeah,
good in the
and
primetime games.
that's as a starter. And then as I was reading more into this article, it says other fits for a backup for starters would be the Ravens, which makes sense because Lamar Jackson, I mean, they have a very similar style of how they play. Lamar Jackson normally gets hurt for a game or two a season. So it'd be good to have him instead of Huntley. Second one they said was the Chiefs, just because I don't really know why they would do the Chiefs because they already have a backup. I thought. I could be wrong on that though. And then the
Yeah.
Chargers, same thing with Herbert. He's been getting hurt. he's been a stud about it. Like he's been only out as much as necessary. He's kind of an animal when it comes to injuries, but he
He
has
doesn't
been getting hurt.
play. He doesn't
Yeah, he
play
doesn't.
at his level that he should be. So
And that's what affects him. I feel like is like when the whole thing happened when they played Kansas City and he did the thing with his shoulder, or was it his ribs, shoulder, rib,
ribs,
both?
shoulder. It
It
was
was like both,
both.
right?
Yeah.
Um, he came back, I think, a little too soon on that because you could see it really affected his gameplay. They still had, I think I looked, how many, I forgot how many wins they had, but they had still a solid, I mean, they still made the playoffs last year, but um, yeah, we'll see with Trey Lance. I feel like it's going to be closer to the trade deadline probably when that would happen. They'll probably keep him on for a little bit. And then maybe when it gets close to the trade deadline, we can see how some of these quarterbacks, either if they have an injury or if, like they're saying with Kirk Cousins, that we'll see kind of where he fits. So I don't really care too much about the 49ers like quarterback room because it's not nothing to brag about. Like none of their players is worth their quarterbacks. I mean, is worth bragging about. I mean, I'm not even Brock Purdy. I mean, he was this Mister, whatever. I
Mr.
mean, he was
Irrelevant.
irrelevant, and he was like this big deal of coming in. But we'll see now that he has a full season. They were at the top of their division. They're going to play a harder people. We'll just see how. I mean, they did good the past couple of years, but this is going to be probably one of their tougher years. And if he's a quarterback, I mean, we'll see how he is as a quarterback for instead of the last leg of the race, the full season, and see how he does. So, but next, Bud Dupree, 1 year deal in Atlanta, helping
Okay.
their defense. Bud
Not too
Dupree.
bad.
Next, Brady is seeking ownership of the Raiders. With
So they're close on it,
yeah,
actually. I was reading that he just wants a minority piece, but they're pretty close on actually making that happen.
yeah. I think if Brady becomes an owner, I don't see him coming back to the league.
We'll see. Who knows?
Unless he wants to be the first owner in the NFL that plays
Never know.
partial owner. Who knows? We'll see. The next, I'll hit this one, and then we'll hit the big one at the very end. Mason Crosby's wife posted saying that Mason Crosby is not returning to the Packers. Pretty sad because Mason Crosby was kind of that dude for a
It
while.
was
I
the
mean, he's
legend.
last year and the year before, I think he was a little shaky. I think 2 years ago they played the Bengals, and him and McPherson both could not hit the game-winning hit like 4 times. They both missed, and it was really bad. And Mason Crosby ended up winning it for the Packers, but that was pretty rough. So we'll see where he goes. We'll see if he actually still plays. I know he's pretty old. So, and then last but not least, we could talk about it. Talk about the big elephant in the room.
Commanders finally.
Yes.
It's the sale is official and it's final. Josh Harris is now going to be the owner. Him along with Magic Johnson, Mitchell Rails, as we've talked about, and they also have a long list of investors as well. But the sale is final. Dan Snyder is out. They're saying it probably won't become official in the NFL until after the winter meetings or after the meetings, whatever. Not sure. But yeah, we're very excited. Dan Snyder is out. I've been watching the Washington fan base react on Twitter, and it's so much fun to see. Like everybody's excited, even though you know some people would argue Josh Harris hasn't done enough with like the Sixers or whatever wherever he is, uh, but anything's better than Dan Snyder. So we can move into some other news that I kind of noted down. Brian Burns had ankle surgery. They're expecting him to be ready for training camp. Jonah Williams of the Bengals is up for trade.
Oh,
So there could be a move coming there for a lineman. Steelers bring back Mason Rudolph. So there's a backup quarterback in the room.
Helmet boy.
Helmet boy.
Dude, that was the first time, actually. A little short story, guys. This is the first time me and Matt actually hung outside of work when we first became friends. He invited me over to his house to watch that game specifically. And we hung out, and then it happened. So I remember that was the first time we actually hung out outside of work.
That was the craziest shit I've ever seen in my life. I did not expect that to happen that day.
All right, and it's just so great that it came from the GOAT, Myles Garrett.
I
Mean,
know.
the thing that makes me so happy is like Myles Garrett's uniforms for Halloween when he wears like the Grim Reaper outfits and he puts Mason Rudolph's name on it. It just reminds me of what he did to that young man. He just
It's so
absolutely
great.
decimated him. And then literally, like I remember when he literally swung on him and then it hit Mason Rudolph. He just goes like this. Looking at the refs, I'm like, bro, there's 10 seconds left. I mean, it's at the very end of the game. Shut up. He's going to get
Yeah.
fined. Just get your ass beat like a man and be on with it.
That was such a great game.
Dude, that was so funny.
But moving along, Quentin Williams, they still do not have an extension, but he's changed his Twitter bio to defensive lineman for ...
Oh, he's no longer
So
coming back.
we don't know what's going on there. They were close, and now it looks like things could be getting a little dicey. So we'll see what happens there. We'll monitor that pretty closely. The other two things that I did want to touch on was Matt Ryan is headed to CBS as an analyst.
Oh, yes, I forgot. That just came out yesterday.
Yeah, but he says it's not a retirement. So I'm guessing he'll take offers from teams if he gets them. Kind of weird, but
it's interesting.
Okay, kind of a good move for him, I guess. And the last but not least, Patriots are bringing back Tom Brady to honor him at their home opener this year. So
against Philly, actually. But did you see how much those tickets were going for?
I didn't see the prices. No,
the minimum price for a ticket was $804 to that game.
That is.
If it was old school Patriots home opener, absolutely. They just came off of a Super Bowl win, whatever. But that they suck and they're just doing this for Tom Brady, I think that is crazy for a price.
Yeah, it is crazy expensive. Unless for some reason Tom Brady comes back as the starting quarterback.
He just runs out to the stadium in his fucking
uniform.
His jersey. Yeah, uniform Brady. Yeah, everyone. I mean,
and Pats.
That would be crazy. That would be crazy. And then he does it against Philadelphia, the one who beat him in his last time as a. Was that his last season as a Patriot, or was that the season after? It was the season after because the Titans beat them. Yeah, that whole thing.
That'd be wild.
Dude, that would be. I mean, we talked about Tom Brady last year coming back to the Patriots. I feel like it's more and more likely, especially because of what they just did of him coming back to Foxborough and all that stuff. So we'll see. But I think it's a little ridiculous for the price.
Oh yeah, no doubt. No average NFL fan can afford that unless you're saving up for a little while and you really want to go see Tom Brady. But
yeah. Well, I mean, we could get into the big portion of our podcast here. I got a lot of stuff to talk about. We haven't even talked about it, but obviously, if you do watch the sports and the NFL world, the NFL schedule has dropped. I think it was last Thursday. It dropped. Yeah, last Thursday it dropped. So I actually really liked this season this year. Like I was very impressed because of last year. I feel like the beginning games.
There was a lot of lopsided games. I feel like there was a lot of blowouts.
I mean, even the start of the season, even though whatever, it's the Cowboys. It was the Cowboys and the Bucks as the opener, and I was like, well, that's cool and all, but
it's underwhelming. Like, who cares?
Why? Yeah, because it's Tom Brady, and then they thought the Cowboys were going to be something that they weren't. The Cowboys just get a lot more love than I feel like they deserve. But
I agree.
And it just looks so, and I want to preface this. It looks so bad because we're in the division with them and we hate the Cowboys, but like coming as a fan,
it didn't make sense at all.
It's so underwhelming when I see a primetime game with the Cowboys. Like, not even, I mean, if it's a good game, Cowboys, Eagles, Cowboys uh, Giants, something like that, where you're like, damn, that's gonna be a really good game. Absolutely. But then when you're like putting the Cowboys against these all-star teams like the Bills, Chiefs, stuff like that in prime time, I'm like,
What
they're
are we
not
doing?
they're
Yeah.
not all of that. Like, I mean, they're good for their how they are. You know, they're a good 10 win team, but like they're not this like super team that's gonna go all the way. I
No.
mean, unless they make some big changes, which they really haven't. They've only gotten worse. I mean, they got a little bit better with the draft they just did, but
I mean, they
uh,
got Stephon Gilmore. You can argue
and
that, but
Stephon Gilmore. We'll see how the season goes, but I just want to preface, and I feel like I always have to preface this: we're not doing this because they're in the NFC East with our teams. We just, as fans of football, I just don't see why they're good.
objectively, I can't see why they're so good.
I don't know
Um,
either.
but yeah, some things I want to touch on before we dive into it. Some little points I want to point out the travel because that's I feel like that's essential to not only fantasy but overall player performance. The Seahawks will be traveling the most this year with 31,000 miles total traveled.
Who was that?
49
Seattle.
Seattle, yeah. So the 49ers are second and the Dolphins are third. So those are three teams that are going to be traveling a lot. Some of the teams that are going to be traveling the fewest, the Bengals are the least. So the Bengals will not be traveling much. The Packers and the Bears are second and third. So just keep an eye on that. That could be kind of helpful to monitor throughout fantasy. Um,
It does
overall,
affect the players. It does affect the
yeah,
players a lot. I mean, I know so if a team, and I think this is correct, if a team goes international, they can pick what they play the next week, I believe, or something like they could pick where they want to play if they want to have their bye week or if they want to have Sunday night or something like. I think it's something like that where they get a pick to help combat them or flying so far. 15 hours or whatever, 16
right.
hours. Uh, I think that's a thing. So that's also something to look for. Um, but overall, just jet lag. I mean, jet lag is a big thing in the league, so especially when you have even East Coast teams flying over to the West Coast going to East. Like that does affect teams a lot. So,
Oh yeah, for sure.
um, a couple of I like I said, I really like the schedule. I really like a lot of these primetime games that they did. A couple that I did like. I like the week one opener week.
Yeah.
We have Chiefs Lions, which is going to be a really good game. I don't know if people remember a couple of years ago we had the Chiefs 49ers or Chiefs 49ers Chiefs Rams. This is when the Rams were good with Jared Goff. And that game was a super fun game to watch. I think they scored like 110 points in that, which was like the third most. And a lot of it came from the fourth quarter. So it's Jared Goff against Patrick Mahomes, which is a really fun one, especially since I feel like the Lions have got a lot better, and I don't feel like the Chiefs have gotten better. So I feel like people are starting to catch up to the Chiefs. I mean, they still have Andy Reid as coach. They still have this insane play calling. They still have Travis Kelsey. But I feel like they just don't have as scary of an offense when you actually think about it. I mean, they're a powerhouse still. I'm not going to put that against them. But I feel like the Lions have added a lot of players to make them good this season. So I think it's going to be a really fun one to watch. As well as the Sunday night game is kind of like what I was saying, Cowboys Giants, just a divisional rivalry in week one for a primetime game. I think that's going to be dope to watch. Um, and then Monday night is Bills Jets, so we can see exactly how Aaron Rodgers can handle a good team. Last year, the Jets did beat the Bills their first time seeing each other. I think it was like week 4 or 5. They did beat them, and it was a big deal. That's when Zach Wilson was actually looking not too bad. CJ Gardner Johnson, Sauce was looking really good, and it was a really fun. So week one, I feel like is very, very good.
Yeah, I also had some on my week one slate as well. Some that you didn't mention because I also had the couple that you mentioned there. But I did want to point out the Packers versus the Bears. For some reason, I think this is going to be interesting because the Packers have owned the Bears, And now that Aaron Rodgers is gone,
Ah,
I
that's true.
this is going to be an important game for the Bears to come into Green Bay and and show like, hey, times have changed. We're boss now. Justin Fields has taken over, so uh, I think this is going to set the tone for the future. Are the Bears going to take over as the division? I don't know. I think it could be interesting.
I think you're smoking crack on that one, but no, I didn't think of it that way because honestly, when I was looking through the schedule, and I got to the Packers schedule, I just was like so like unimpressed with like how I feel like they're going to be doing, just because I was like, I don't really know. Their team is not looking the greatest. The only thing that like we've been saying this entire podcast, I feel like we bring it up every week. Aaron Jones, AJ Dillon is going to be their
That's going to be
players.
their go-to.
So I don't know. I was very underwhelmed with the Packers, but putting it that way because of what Aaron Rodgers has done to the Bears,
Hmm.
I think it's going to be really fun.
Oh yeah. I also put the Eagles versus Patriots on there just because I think
Okay.
it's going to be uh, the arguably the best offense in the league versus like a top five defense. So it'll be fun to see that right off the bat. And Commanders versus Cardinals. I just kind of threw that on there because I want to see if the Commanders can get off to a decent start against a bad team. So I mean, we'll see. I personally, for me, I want to watch that game, but it's not going to be a great game. But I just want to see
It's
if at
not.
least we can start off on the right foot and beat a bad team. So
If you guys, I mean, honestly, there's been a lot of hate about the Commanders. And it's realistically about your head coach that you guys have been getting a lot of hate on, and
understandable.
your quarterback. Those are the two things that really hurt the Commanders. Who knows if he actually comes out? I mean, towards the end of the season, he wasn't terrible. I mean, you guys had a chance to make the playoffs with Heineke, and then did he get hurt, or why did you guys switch to? Did he
So
just suck and got benched?
yeah, I mean we benched back and forth quarterbacks quite a few, but I know Sam Howell came in against the Cowboys and beat them 26-6. So I don't know. I think they were rolling with him after that, and we'll kind of see how it goes. But Ron Rivera, he had no idea that we were going to get eliminated from playoff contention if we lost, and I think if like the Giants won or something like that. He's like, "Oh, I didn't know we could be eliminated by that." It's like, oh Christ.
Yeah, I think this is going to be Ron Rivera's last year if he
I
doesn't
would
do
agree.
something. I think
I mean,
he's out
especially
as
with
the
the
head coach.
ownership change, especially with the
Yeah.
ownership change, I
They
think
might
they're
be
going to
doing a
tear it
full.
down.
They might just take everybody out if it's one more bad season for you guys. I mean, I don't put that. I mean, I know because I tried to also not put as much Eagles stuff because I would put 15 or I'd put 15 of the 17 games as a fun one I'm excited to watch, but I
Well,
tried
yeah,
not to put a lot of them. I mean, the Eagles Patriots is going to be a really fun one because it's in Foxborough. And it's really going to see how this. I mean, dude, the Eagles just got better and better this offseason with what they drafted, what they traded for, who they picked up. I mean, they just look really good on paper. Like, they look really, really, really good. I feel so much more. I mean, last season when we picked up AJ Brown, I'm like, okay, we're gonna be pretty solid, but then we just figured it out. I mean, Jalen Hurts just figured it out as a quarterback, and then we did really good. But I tried not to put too much on there because I think a lot of the games are not going to be as close as it seems. So
yeah,
there's a couple matchups on for Philly I put on here, but I tried not to. But the Cardinals Commanders is probably the most underwhelming game. I mean, I get it as a Washington
yeah.
fan to
Oh
see how
yeah,
they're going to do, but it's probably one of the most underwhelming games
on
of
that slate, no doubt.
on that slate. I for sure. I mean, yeah, we'll see. But I kind of just went through on mine, and I just this is I'm most of right now what I'm talking about is just strictly primetime games. So the next one that I have that I'm very excited for, Week 9, Buffalo travels over to Cincinnati for Sunday Night Football. Their games are just usually pretty legendary. I mean, I feel like all their games are really, really fun to watch. both teams. I mean, Cincy got a better offensive lineman, worse on defense because they lost their safeties. But Buffalo has gotten a little bit better. So it might be a different outcome. I know Cincinnati's pretty much been owning Buffalo these past couple years, probably 2 years. So we shall see on that one.
Yeah, I highlighted a couple games just by weekly basis.
You know what?
So
You can hit me with them, and then I can
yeah,
give some input on
all
it.
right, yeah. In week two, I did throw the Jets at the Cowboys on there just because Aaron Rodgers owns Jerry World. We all know that. But now
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers is walking into Jerry World with a top five defense, a young receiving core, and a rebuilt team. I think he goes in there and just completely dominates them instead of having to come back late in the fourth quarter like he always does there.
Yeah, and the only thing I'd be worried about that game, I don't know. Now that I see these veteran quarterbacks, I mean, the Russell Wilson situation kind of scared me because you were like, I remember how high I was on the Broncos last season. I was like, dude, they're disgusting. They're going to be so good. And then they did what they did,
Yeah,
and
they
they
did
just shit
dog
the bed.
shit. Yeah.
So I think the Jets, I mean, they have a couple of tough games. I mean, week one, Bills, week two, Cowboys. We play them week seven or something like that. I mean, they got a tough slate ahead of them. So it's really going to push this team to see if they're going to be worth watching or not.
Yeah. Week three, one of the things I just wanted to highlight here was Cowboys at Cardinals. That's going to be a terrible game to watch because you got the two most annoying fan bases in the world
Would
going.
you say Cowboys Cardinals?
Cowboys Cardinals, baby.
Yes, sir. Dude, that honestly, there was a video on TikTok of this guy when the schedule got released. He was like, I forgot his name, but he was like the most uninteresting, things. He's like, I'd rather watch paint dry than watch that game. I mean, you got the Cardinals who are just like they could very well be a decent team. They could very well just get it together like they have, and they could be a solid team. But like with the whole thing around D Hop, with the whole thing around Kyler Murray being kind of a drama queen with their whole offense, I just don't like their offense. Their defense has some good players on it, but their defense just puts up or gets a lot of points
Blown
or
out.
put
They
on
get
them.
blown
Yeah,
out,
so and then offense can never get up.
they have terrible uniforms,
Yeah.
and they treat their players like garbage. So we all know that from the report that came
I
out.
want
But
them to be good, but the only reason why I want them to be good is because Jonathan Gannon, the old Eagles defensive coordinator, is now the head coach over there. And I loved him as our defensive coordinator. I mean, you could see what he did for Philly last year. He absolutely just built that defense to be a powerhouse. Um, but I just don't see it in Arizona to do it. And then the same thing with the Cowboys. I know we keep talking about it, but in reality, they haven't gotten better offensively. I
no,
mean, the
they
best
haven't.
thing they've done is got rid of Zeke, so Tony Pollard's going to be getting a lot of the snaps because Tony Pollard has been carrying their defense or their offense a lot. I mean, Zeke will get some of the good stuff, but Tony Pollard has overall past 2 years looked a lot better than Zeke, so that's like the best thing they've done. But they haven't done much besides that. If they got Odell or something, I would have probably put them a little bit higher. I've been a little bit more excited to watch the Cowboys, but they didn't get him. They got worse offensively, and their defense got a little bit better, but their defense has always been pretty solid with Micah Parsons, Van Der Esch, Trevon Diggs. I mean, their defense is good. Um, but yeah, I think it's going to be a really boring game to watch.
Yeah.
We actually watched the 2 years ago. We watched the Cowboys Cards at Buffalo Wild Wings, and that was
Yeah.
kind of fun to watch because we were watching the Cowboys lose because that's when the Cardinals were actually somewhat decent,
That's
and it was a
right.
very
Yeah.
fun time to watch.
We always enjoy watching the Cowboys lose no matter what. So,
Yeah, yeah.
I jumped ahead to week 7 here. Dolphins at Eagles. That'll be a fun game to
I have that
watch.
as a key matchup. I'm excited to see.
That'll be
I
a good
think
one.
the only reason why it couldn't be is these first couple of weeks we'll see how Tua looks. If
Yeah.
Tua is coming back in full force or not. I feel like if he doesn't and he's not like how they used to be, it's really not going to be that much of a game. But if he does come out, realistically, as long as he could throw it 50 yards to Tyreek Hill, because Tyreek Hill is just going to burn us. I mean, he's going to burn everybody. Um, then it should be an interesting game. Or Jalen Waddle. I mean, they're both really good. So,
Yeah.
but if he doesn't and he comes out these first couple of weeks just looking really bad, um, we shall see. And then we should see. I think I saw something last week about Tyreek possibly being traded back to the Chiefs. I don't know if it was true or not. I didn't really read it. I just read that what it would take for him to go back. Like, what would Miami be willing to give up for him? So, but I think, yeah, I have that also on my I have like primetime games, and then underneath it's just key matchups that aren't primetime games that I'm excited to see, and that's the only one I put for week 7. So,
I also put 49ers at Vikings for week 7. Kirk Cousins in his prime time, garbage. But I think it should be an interesting game nonetheless. So, excited to see that one. Jump ahead to week 11. Eagles at Chiefs. You got your
I
Super
have
Bowl
that one
rematch
as
there.
prime time. Yeah, I have that as my prime time one. That one's gonna be really fun. I realistically think uh, Philly probably is gonna come out on top on that one just because of the Super Bowl. I feel like there's a lot of probably this team is probably gonna have this game, 2 games on their list circled for when they play them. That'll be the 49ers game and the Chiefs game. 49ers game just because of how much smack this team has talked about us, and then this Kansas City game because of what happened last year. Because of realistically, I feel like in the Super Bowl, if Jalen Hurts didn't get that strip fumble for a touchdown, the game would have looked a lot different because we would have probably went down and scored some points, and it probably would have looked a lot different. But I think there's going to be a lot of especially people who have been on or who were on Philly last season, which is a good chunk of our offense and defense. They're going to have that game circled for sure, and it's an Arrowhead, which is going to be fun to be an Arrowhead.
Yeah, that'll be a fun game to watch for sure.
Yeah.
So, jumping ahead to week 12, you got your Thanksgiving matchups. Packers at Lions, Washington at Dallas. I'm excited to see that one. That's always a good Thanksgiving tradition. And 49ers at Seahawks. So that's your Thanksgiving matchups. Jumping ahead to week 13, that's when you have your 49ers at Eagles. So,
Yes, and I didn't put that on. I don't think I put that one on my list. Yeah, I didn't. But like I said already, I think the Eagles are gonna have that one circled. Week 13 primetime game, Monday Night Football. It's Cincinnati versus Jacksonville. I think that one's gonna be pretty fun because a lot of people have high hopes for Jacksonville, including me. I think
yeah.
Jacksonville's gonna be really solid, especially now that they got not Christian Kirk, Calvin Ridley back. Um, I think they're just going to look really, really good. I think it's going to be a fun one, especially since Trevor Lawrence has kind of found his rhythm, and they have a great coach in Doug Peterson. Doug Peterson's a great coach, so um, I don't see that as a easy game for Cincinnati. I think it's going to be a fun one to watch, especially since the last time they played, I actually went to that game in Cincinnati 2 years ago. And it was just a blowout by Cincy. So I think this one's going to be a lot closer, and it's going to be a lot more fun to watch.
Yeah. That's pretty much all I had kind of highlighted. I know there's probably a few more on there.
Yeah,
But
2 more that I have, well, at least for prime time. Christmas, we got Eagles Giants, so that one's going to be a fun one. But the one that's really going to be cool to watch is Baltimore, San Francisco Christmas night, which is going to be a really fun one. As long as like I didn't want to put San Francisco on a lot of these primetime games, but you kind of have to because of how their offense is. But that's just like we won't know until we see who the quarterback is and how they play.
yeah. I mean, who
And then
knows? Sam Darnold could come into Kyle Shanahan's offense and just blow it up. Who knows?
yeah, I mean that could be. I mean that's happened before. I mean look at not Alex Smith. Uh, uh, I can't think. I'm not gonna use too much brain power on that. If I think about it, I'll say it. And then the other key matchups I have week 5, we have Jacksonville at Buffalo again. I think Buffalo or Jacksonville is going to impress a lot of people this next season. I'm very high on them. And then the other one that I'm very excited to see is Kansas City, Minnesota, because they have both high scoring offenses and okay-ish defenses. So it should be pretty fun to see. I feel like it's just going to be a high scoring game. especially with you got Justin Jefferson on Minnesota and Dalvin Cook. If he stays, I don't know if they're going to release him. I know I read a report saying he might leave, he might get traded, and then Kansas City is just Kansas City. So week 6, another one I saw that I think is going to be really fun to watch is Cincinnati versus Seattle. Their defense got better, their offense got better. As long as Geno Smith can stay in a rhythm, I think that's going to be a really fun one to watch, especially because Cincinnati is going to have a lot of games, because a lot of high games and a lot of games that will be fun this season. I feel like next year is going to be different because T. Higgins will need a contract. DeMar Chase will need a contract. Tyler Boyd, I think, is at the end of his contract. Joe Burrow needs a contract. So they're probably going to have to let someone go. So this is probably the last season we're going to see these teams or this team together. And then week 8, Cincy, San Francisco, because of the same thing. They're just both really good teams, good defenses, and then both star offenses. I think Cincinnati has the edge over them right now just because of the whole quarterback situation in San Francisco, but we shall see as the season moves along.
Yeah. Do you kind of want to jump into standings, kind of where you think?
Yeah, let's do standings. Let's do it. We also haven't discussed our standings. We said one thing to each other, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But for the most part, we don't know. So we can take it by division. Let's just do this. Take it by division. We'll do the teams and their records, and then we will talk about it. Which division I have it? Which division would you like first?
I mean, we might as well just get it out of the way. Let's just talk about the NFC East.
Okay, I'll let you go first because I'll let you go first.
So my non-biased self put Washington as number 1. I'm just kidding. No, I didn't.
I would probably end this podcast if you said something that stupid. Maybe in 5 years, but not right now.
No, I did put Philly first. I had them at 15-2. I think realistically, they do have a pretty gettable schedule. So I guess you could argue like the teams that they play against, like maybe the Bills and Chiefs, like are going to give you the hardest times.
That's exactly what I thought too.
But it could swing either way. They could have, if Jalen Hurts comes back and continues playing at the level that he was, I think he could have arguably another MVP season, and they could almost go undefeated. I think, but it's gettable. So I mean, there's a few games that could flip flop back and forth. But at number 2, I had the Giants at 9-8. Yeah, I honestly I think the Giants got better. And with watching them how they played last year against the division, I think they have a good chance of obviously sweeping Washington, and even possibly a chance of sweeping Dallas. So we'll see. I mean, they played Dallas real tough last year. So if Barkley's healthy, if Jones plays well, and if their defense performs like they have been, then I think they could be up there. So
wow.
That brings me to number 3, which is where I had Dallas. I had them at 8-9. I just don't see them as, a playoff worthy team. I think they're average at best. So 8-9 is best I could do for them. So
best I could do is
best I could do. Washington, I'm not real high on. I had them at 5-12. I think they have a lot of tough matchups this year, but I think they have a couple winnable ones. But again, it could swing either way. It's just who's going to be the better team on those days. So I did have them at 5-12.
Wow. I gave you guys a little bit more love. For starters, I also have Philly first. I have them at 15-2 as well. I agreed with the Bills and Chiefs. I feel like those games, honestly, when I looked at our schedule, I was like, we should go undefeated. But I'm an Eagles fan. I feel like if I said we're going undefeated, it's going to just look like I'm just being an Eagles fan. So I had to be realistic. Then you also got to throw in the Jets. We play Miami. Like, we have a couple of harder games. I think the back half of our season, we have like back-to-back like hard games. So that'll really show Philly. I mean, we have the toughest schedule based on win percentage. Uh, so we'll see how they play. I think Philly obviously has gotten better. We lost a couple players on defense, but overall we've gotten better offensively with a new running back. Our wide receivers are all the same. We got better on defense. We did lose C.J. Gardner Johnson, but we've re-signed most of our defense. Our defensive line and linebackers have gotten a little bit better. Our weak side linebacker still is up in the air, but I think Philly overall has the best team, or has the best team on paper. I feel like they have
by
probably the
far.
best reason to be the best team in the league. Um, Number two, I have Dallas. I know we talk a lot of crap about Dallas, but it's Dallas. They always still find themselves. I mean, last year, think it was last year where they were just doing really bad, and then they just somehow grinded their way back out of it. And then they were actually contending to actually take the number one seed from us. We actually closed that out when we beat them in Dallas. But, I mean, overall, it's just the Cowboys. They just somehow find themselves winning games when they shouldn't, or they come in, last minute. They're always, sometimes we'll be grinding from the way back. Sometimes they come out and ball out like they played Minnesota last year. They dropped like 40 on the Vikings, and Vikings had like 3 points or something like that, something ridiculous. They were getting destroyed. So I think I have Dallas 10-7. Um, and then with the Giants, I also have the Giants 10-7. I have the Cowboys beating the Giants both times, so that puts them second in the division. Giants, same thing, kind of same with you. As long as they stay healthy, as long as they're performing how they do last year, I think they look a lot better than last year. And I think, like you said, I think they're starting to figure out their offense, so they should be good. But I still think I put the Cowboys just a hair over them because a lot of their players have, I mean, even the Giants, I guess, have played together for a long time, but I feel like Cowboys overall just have, I feel like they have the better quarterback. Um, Giants have a better running back, but then, Cowboys, I feel like have a better defense you can kind of argue for just because they have a couple more superstars. And then I have Washington 7-10. I think as long as your boy Sam Howell can uh, figure it out, I think they can win some games. I feel like they'll probably be kind of like they were last year, where they were looking into the playoffs, but they just can't reach it. And then
Yeah,
ultimately, I think that's what will fire the Ron Rivera. And I feel like then maybe you guys can start picking up the pace on some things.
yeah, and I agree with you on that, and that's why I put him so low. Is I thought a lot of the games hinged on Sam Howell and just how he performed, but you could say that a lot about a lot of these teams that I kind of have. So, but yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah. Um, we can go into, let's just do that whole NFC. So next we could do the NFC North. I'll let you want to do this one, or you want me to start with this one?
It's up to you. Whatever you feel comfortable with.
Screw it, bro. I got this. So first things first, I have the Vikings still winning the division. I think they're just the only thing that would make them not win, I think, is with the whole Dalvin Cook situation. Even though they have Alexander Madison, when Dalvin Cook Dalvin Cook does get hurt, Alexander Madison is right in there, and he does just as good as Dalvin Cook. So it's not that bad, but I have them going 14-3. I have them actually being a pretty solid team this season. I think they pretty much will obliterate their division. The only one they might split with is the Lions, but I think the Bears and Packers both get obliterated by the Vikings. They had a couple tough games on their schedule, so they have Philly on there. They have, I believe, Buffalo on there. They have the Chiefs on there. So it is not going to be super easy, but they do have an easier schedule. When I was looking at some of the teams, I was like, dang, these are pretty easy to kind of go on.
Yeah, I agree.
Second, I have the Lions. I have them at 11-6. I think they're going to be a really good team. I just don't think they're going to be everything. I still think they have a lot to do, and it really will depend on a lot of this. A lot of these like not superstar teams with franchise quarterbacks. It really depends on their quarterback, Jared Goff. Jared Goff in L.A. balled out his first couple seasons, then kind of took a hit. And then he came to the Lions, and he looked pretty solid. I mean, they weren't winning games, but they were like in a lot of their games. Like they were still in it. I mean, last season was a good one of that. They almost made the playoffs, right? Didn't they almost make it?
Yeah, they were close. I think they just missed out.
They
So
barely because of a loss or something, or someone won.
something like
So
that.
I have them 11-6, and then I feel like I was a little generous on the Bears, but I do like Justin Fields, but I have them at 7-10. Um, I feel like it could be a little bit lower just because they didn't really add too much offensively. Their defense is pretty okay. They're not great, but I still feel like they still got probably another year or two of rebuilding before they're probably going to be a good team. So I think they keep Justin Fields, they keep developing him. They'll eventually get good, but as of right now, I don't think they're going to be good. I think they probably will split with the Packers. They might upset the Lions or Vikings, but ultimately, they're just not going to be that good. So, Packers, I think they're going to be awful, 5-12. I didn't even want to give them 5 wins, but Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon, as long as they're playing a crappy defense, they will probably ball out.
Fair enough. I thought you were a little generous with the Vikings. I think they're more of an 11-win team. I think they go 11-6. Um,
Oh,
I think there's a lot of matchups in there that
let me go. I'm going to go look up their schedule to see why I thought it was 14.
there's a lot of like matchups that could swing either way, but I think their defense is getting worse. Um,
Okay.
I don't I know their offense is their offense, but their defense is starting to worry me a little bit. And some of the teams they played against, I just don't feel like they can go toe to toe with. And again, there could be some of those swing games, but
Yeah, I
while
mean the games. I feel like they have a couple of easy ones on here. You got they play the Eagles week 2, but they play the Bucks week 1. I feel like that's a win for them. Chargers could be a
that could be
50-50 on that
swing,
one.
depends
It
on
just feels like
Herbert,
exactly. Panthers is easy. Kansas City they probably will lose. Bears win. 49ers possibly win based off of the quarterback
maybe.
situation. Packers they win, Falcons they win, Saints they win, Broncos they win, Bears they win again, Raiders they win, Bengals they'll probably lose, Lions they beat, Packers they beat, and then they might split with the Lions or they might beat them.
I feel like the Lions could take a game or two from the Vikings. I think the Lions have the offense to keep up with them, but a slightly better defense, and a lot of this hinges on their rookies. So
Yeah.
we'll see, but yeah, I had the Vikings at 11-6. I had the Lions at 9-8. I think 11 is a little high, but
Eh,
it's just because they're young. They're a very young team. I think they still have a lot to put together until they can make that step and get to 11 wins. But I think they do go over 500. I think they go 9-8 and slightly make the playoffs. So
okay.
um, I have Chicago at 3. I have them at 8-9. I have them a little slightly higher than you did, but
Just one more win.
yeah, and it's like a swing win. Like you said, Justin Fields. He could be legit, and he torches bad defenses. Um, but as far as their defense goes, they lost Roquan Smith. I just don't see them as the elite defense they used to be. So they're average at best. I would say. I just don't think they're a complete
Yeah.
football team yet, like you said. So I have the Packers at the bottom of the division. I was a little more generous. I gave them 6-11. Um, I think there's a few in there that Jordan Love can, if he figures it out, he can kind of just do enough to win. I think their defense is okay. It's not crazy good. It's not crazy bad. Um, but I don't think they do enough. Um, So I have them at 6-11. I can't put them any higher than that.
I don't mind that. Who knows? Jordan Love could surprise us all and they could be a good team,
He
but
could.
I
I
just
mean, there's a reason they stuck with him so long, so that's why it's
yeah.
just tough to judge.
Yeah. Overall, the Vikings I might have been a little high on, but I just feel like I don't know, dude. It's a last contract for Kirk Cousins, so it's probably his last shot at doing something big, especially with this good of an offense. I just feel like he probably goes all out. They have a good coach. They have a pretty decent defense. I mean, I feel like they can win a couple of games. Um, so then we can move into. Let me hear your NFC South because mine's kind of all over the place.
So is mine. I don't like this division at all.
I don't
I
either.
hate this division. So I went.
It makes me mad when I see some of these divisions, and I'm like, how do these guys? How are they going to get a playoff spot?
Yeah, I don't get it.
That's not fair to get a playoff spot from these divisions.
It doesn't make sense. It keeps the better teams out. So
That's even with when Tom Brady used to be in the AFC East with the Bills, Jets, and Dolphins when they were all awful.
yeah,
It's just like, yeah, they were a good team, but like they had an easy road to get to the playoffs every year.
absolutely.
And then once they got to the playoffs, then it was just all over. So I feel like maybe at sometime in the future they'll do something with the standings, making it more fair for these better teams who are in really good divisions, like your AFC Wests that have
Mhm.
3 to possibly 4 teams that are gonna be above possibly 500. I don't think so. I don't have them all above 500, but they could possibly be all above 500, and then they don't make the playoffs to a team that could have 9, 7 wins. That's kind of like what happened 2 years ago in our division. We
Yeah,
all were below 500, but the Cowboys made it, or we made it. Someone made it, and
I
it was just
know
like we.
we went against Tampa Bay. Um, like I think
It was that year. It was that year.
so we went and we were 7-9.
Yes. Yeah, that's right before the next year. Then they changed it to
Yeah.
17 or 18 weeks, so 17 games. So yeah, yep.
So uh, I have the Saints winning the division, but barely. I have them at 9-8. I think adding Derek Carr at least helps their quarterback situation, but he's not a like wow option. So I don't like the Saints offense incredibly
I
much.
like I like Derek Carr to the Saints personally, just because of how they are offensively. Like they're not really flashy
Yeah,
in terms of like it just feels like a Derek Carr offense where it's a pocket passing offense. They have Kamara that can take dump passes. Uh, I do like Derek Carr actually on the
I
Saints, but
I
I
like it.
still think
It just depends if Michael Thomas plays, if he's healthy. If Kamara plays, if he's healthy. A lot of it depends on how these guys
no,
play.
it's Kamara if he's not in prison.
That too. That too. So yeah, a lot of it hinges on just guys how they play. You know, they've kept these guys around from when they drafted them years ago, and they had their peaks, and they've just fizzled out ever since. So
They have a pretty solid defense. I mean, they have a
it's
pretty
okay. I mean, Demario Davis is still there, so
Cam Jordan.
Cam Jordan. So
He's good.
I think Lattimore's still there too.
Lattimore probably is still there.
So I mean,
He's gonna die a Saint.
it's serviceable, but I don't know. I have the Bucks at 2, at 8-9. I think that could be a little generous, but I still think their defense is pretty legit. Um, a lot of it just depends on how Baker plays with the Bucks. You know,
Right.
it's a weird fit to me. I just didn't see the fit, but I mean, he could put up some numbers with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and
I'm
Rashad White there.
still I'm still pretty high on Baker. I like Baker as a quarterback.
I don't mind him at all. I liked Baker. I think he got a lot of hate and he didn't deserve it because he was not healthy. Um, but I think the Browns made a mistake getting rid of him, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Uh, Falcons I had in third place at 7-9, or oh, I'm sorry, 7-10. Um, I just I have them winning a couple games, but I don't have them making that step yet. I think their rookies help them out a lot. I think Bijan Robinson's going to be used a lot more than we expected him to, so I think he'll get
Yeah, there was a
a
report that
lot
came
of
out saying that
touches.
he was getting put all over the offense. So I think well, I know we were saying that we'll see how it goes with Cordell Patterson and what's his face like
Heineke's there, so We'll see.
No, running back, you mouth breather.
Algier.
Algier, that's what I'm thinking of. Yeah, but he said that they're putting him more in the offense, so that could be even more that they're more higher on him, and they're just gonna get him right into it. So,
Yeah, a
which
lot of it.
with running backs, some of those running backs, I mean quarterbacks, yeah, let them sit a season or two, let them just kind of develop. But like with these running backs, I mean, you only get
They're
them good
ready to go.
for so yeah, and they're only good for so many years. You don't get good 30, 32-year-old, 34-year-old running backs. So usually you want those fresh legs already starting pretty quick. So I don't see why they wouldn't put
Yeah,
him to use already.
especially these blue chip guys. I mean, they come into the
Exactly.
league, they're ready to tear it up. So
Yeah.
I have the Panthers going 4-13. I think there's a lot of swing games in there. It depends on if Bryce Young is playing by the end of the season or not. They don't have a great roster. I think their defense is okay. Um, I ideally, I mean, they could win one game this year. I think they're that bad of a team, but I had them at 4-13 just for argument's sake. So, what was your standings there?
I have Saints similar to you. I have 9-8 Saints. I agree with the Baker situation just because I feel like Baker's confidence has gone down a lot now that he's just been bouncing from team to team these past 2 years.
Yeah,
Um, but they're good. I mean, the Saints have always kind of been that weird team that's been just it's the Saints, like they're good. That's when Sean Payton was the head coach, but still, I mean, it's the Saints. They didn't do bad last year. They didn't do great, but they didn't do terrible. So I still have them winning the division. I have the Bucks right behind them. Also 9-8. I think Saints probably beat them in division games, so that's why the Saints are one. Bucks, we'll just see how Baker does. He has targets. He has a lot of help on offense. So I think they're probably still going to be pretty solid in terms of because he still has Godwin, he still has Evans, he still has Fournette. He's got a lot of players that will help. Um, so I think they still fall short, but I think they're still going to be a pretty talked about team. I think they're still going to be people are going to be kind of high on them, but I have then both the Falcons and Panthers winning 4 games. I
okay.
think they're both going to be pretty bad. You can put them either or 3-4. I don't really care. Once you suck that bad, it really doesn't matter. I think Panthers might kind of what my thought was. I think some of the Alabama players are going to be coming into the draft next season. Panthers get him some chemistry, Bryce Young some chemistry with some more Alabama players to play with him. They've seen what it's done to the Eagles with Devonta Smith, Jalen Hurts. They've seen what it's done to Cincinnati with Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. I mean, they've seen how it affects an offense just by giving them a player that they've played already 4 years with. It does tremendous. So, and then the Falcons, they could be potentially pretty solid because if they get their run game going, but they have Marcus Mariota as their not Marcus Mariota. Marcus Mariota's on the Eagles. Who's their quarterback?
Uh, Heineke and Ritter.
Yeah, Ritter. That he still hasn't really had that much experience. They don't really have. I mean, they have Drake London. I guess he can combat for. I think they're going to be probably more run heavy because their running backs are a lot better. I think they're going to be probably running some pretty heavy sets. I could see.
I mean, they still
But
have, like you said, Drake London and then Kyle Pitts. So, I
I
mean,
I've never been high on Kyle Pitts. I like literally. I remember when he first came in the league, he was going like first, second round in fantasy, and I was like, not me, bro, not me. And I'm glad I didn't. I took him last year in like the 5th round. He did okay until he got hurt. But
I think
I
it's
think they're
a,
gonna be more.
I think it's how they use them, but it remains to be seen.
Yeah, and then yeah, so I mean, you can interchange Panthers Falcons for whoever. I think it's really just going to be between the Bucks and Saints that for this division. I still think the Saints take it. So, last but not least, in the NFC, we have the NFC West, which I did some things to this division. So, I have Seattle winning the division.
Do you?
I do because I think we've already kind of spoke about Seattle. They've gotten better on defense. They've gotten really good on offense with a new wide receiver. Geno Smith, as long as he's staying in stride, it's easy to cover two guys, but it's hard to cover three. I mean, it's hard to double cover. It's hard because if you double cover DK, you already know your two speedy guys, Tyler Lockett and JSN, is going to be out there. So I think they win the division. Really feel like they're going to be a really good team. They still have Pete Carroll as a head coach. Pete Carroll's a very good coach for them. They have a really good running back in Kenneth Walker. He's fresh. He looked really solid last season. I was pretty high on Kenneth Walker. I was really high on the Seahawks. They looked really good last year.
They drafted another running back as well.
They also drafted another running back, yeah. So I'm very high on them. And the reason, I might get a lot of hate for that because of the 49ers. I keep saying this. We don't know about the quarterback situation. And as you see, when their quarterback situation went downhill, they just sucked. Like when they went down, but they only had one quarterback to play in the playoff game. They had two, but they realistically had one. He got hurt the first or second drive. Their second one got hurt, even though when he did play, he was okay. He wasn't great. I just don't think they're going to be all of that this year. That could be a little me hating on them a little bit. I still have them winning 12 games. I still think they're going to be really good. But I just feel like the Seahawks are better with Geno Smith. Even though Geno Smith's only done 1 year of being a good quarterback, he's been a crappy quarterback plenty of years before. I just feel like I feel like he really fit into this offense really well. I feel like they figured it out for Seattle. I have Seattle winning. And then Rams and Cards, same situation with Panthers, Falcons. Throw them wherever you want. I have Rams third. I have them winning 6 games, 11 losses. They still have a solid defense. If Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp can pick it up, maybe give them 10 wins. It could still be I think this division, at least for those 3 teams, could still be very competitive. Even if the Rams come back and they're looking at how they looked 2 years ago, when Cooper Kupp won the Triple Crown, they had a really good offense. Their defense, they still have Hall of Famer Aaron Donald, at least for, I think, 1 more year before we'll see if he hangs it up or not. They have a really good corners. They still have Jalen Ramsey. They still have really good defense.
No, I don't think Jalen Ramsey's there.
He's not there anymore?
Not that I know of. I think he went to the Dolphins.
No. Did he?
I'm pretty sure.
Jalen Ramsey trade. He did go to the Dolphins March 12th. What?
I told you, yeah. Jalen Ramsey is the Dolphins. So Rams do not have Jalen Ramsey. That changes your whole thing, doesn't it?
Yeah, I have them. They stay 6-11 then. I was gonna give him more love, and the more I thought about it, and the more I spoke. But now that I'm looking at this, and what did they give for him? Prior to the trade, next 2 seasons, so he gets him for 2 years. Ramsey is largely considered one of the best cornerbacks. Miami. And they have Bradley Chubb too. Their fucking defense is gonna be really, really, really good. But they did get rid of Byron Jones. After this trade, the Dolphins hold 4 picks in the 2023 draft, 1 each in the 2nd, 3rd, 6th, and 7th. So the Rams pulled off a blockbuster trade for Ramsey. So whatever helped them with that. Now I just want to see what they got for him because I'm going to be pissed. To Miami else for a 2023 3rd-round pick. Is that really all they got?
That's it.
Oh, they got a tight end Hunter Long and a 2023 3rd-round pick.
Oh, okay.
That's still
nothing for Jalen Ramsey.
For one of the best corners in the league. Okay, scratch that. Keep them 6-11. Their defense is still solid without Jalen Ramsey, at least the forefront, but the secondary might struggle a little bit. So if they play if they play their Seattle, if they play their 49ers, even if they play the Cardinals, all those teams have very solid wide receiver cores, and that's 6 games right there. So might look a little rough for the Rams. And then I have the Cardinals absolutely sucking 4-13. You could argue to make them better, but I just overall just don't see the Cardinals. I feel like they're going to be one of the worst teams to watch in the league. I feel like they're going to be really boring to watch. I feel like Kyler is going to be throwing his like the one thing I really don't want to see from a quarterback is them always blaming their wide receivers. So you'd see Kyler Murray throw the ball and then overthrows it, throws it too far to the left, whatever, and then he just like points and he's like, throws his hands up. I'm like, dude, you can. I get it. You can get frustrated. Just don't get frustrated when you're the all-star, supposedly all-star of the team. It just makes you not it makes you seem like you don't want to take ownership. Like, you'll see some quarterbacks when you'll see the wide receiver coming back, you'll see the quarterback like tap their chest like, hey, that was my bad, or whatever the case is. But I still think they suck. I think they're in a rebuild. I think it's really sad to say for Jonathan Gannon because it's his first time as a head coach, but it might be a little worrisome for the Cardinals.
Yeah, I agree. I kind of had things flip-flopped a little bit there. I still have the 49ers winning. I think if Sam Darnold can play well in Shanahan's offense well enough to hold over until Purdy comes back, or if Sam Darnold plays well enough to stay in the starter role, who knows? I still have them with an elite defense. I still think they're 14-3. I think that there are a few of those swing games still. So there are a few that could go another way, but I had the Seahawks second. I think they're young. I think they are getting good, but I just don't think they take that step yet. I think they're at 10-7, but not necessarily like elite yet. I think next year, the year after that, maybe. But if Geno gets hurt and they have to go to Drew Lock, I'm not too confident in Drew Lock.
Excuse me?
I mean, I like him. I just with the way that he's played,
Put on for my city. Put on.
I can't.
That Drew Lock. Is that who you're talking about?
Yeah.
The guy that raps.
Yeah.
The guy that's White Slim Shady.
Yeah. That's my
White
boy.
Slim Shady.
I like him, but I don't see him stepping in as a fantastic replacement for Geno Smith.
Wow.
Who knows? I don't know. I could be wrong. But I have the Rams at third, 7-10.
Okay.
I think that could be a little generous, but there could be like if Stafford plays well with Kupp, there's a few wins that they could pull out. So, but Cardinals I have down last, of course, at 5-12. So, I think if Hopkins and Murray are both healthy, they can pull out a few wins, but overall their roster
They got
is
James
bad.
Conner. I mean, they have Zach Ertz. They have good players. Like they could come out and be a good team. I just feel like their morale, how the team is looked at is just not good, and that's really going to affect them. On paper, if you look at their offense and their defense, you're like, damn, that's a really solid. They did lose J.J. Watt. I mean, J.J. Watt overall wasn't huge in Arizona. I mean, he was still a good player.
But
He's still
it's
a Hall of
still a
Famer.
leadership kind of thing.
Yeah. You just don't know how the team's going to look. I mean, when you see, like I keep going back to Kyler. Kyler's the guy who's supposed to bring the team together. You can see leadership in a lot of players, as in like Patrick Mahomes is. You can see how Jalen Hurts was a very big leader for the Eagles, and that really helped. You can see how these people help build up these teams. Then you see it on the defensive side of the ball with like Bobby Wagner and people like that. Like you could see how these leaders, and I just don't feel like there's one of those leaders on the Cardinals. I really don't. I don't. They have good players though. They just don't have good leadership.
Yeah, I agree. But let's jump over into the AFC. Let's just start it off with the East. Let's get into the real thick division. I like this division a lot. This is going to be a really fun division to watch. I do have the Bills winning the division.
Okay.
I think they're a 14-3 team. There's a few games in there. I think the Chiefs can still beat them. I think the Eagles can still beat them. They're still susceptible. Bengals could beat them. I like them, but I think they're still susceptible to losses. I do have the Jets coming in second. I think Aaron Rodgers puts them over the top. I think this is if Aaron Rodgers plays well and all goes according to plan, I mean, they got a stud defense, they got a great young offense, and then throwing Aaron Rodgers in there instead of, let's be honest, Zach Wilson or Mike White. I mean, it's Aaron Rodgers. He's gonna win. So
It's Aaron flipping Rodgers, dude.
that's right. Discount double check, baby.
Oh,
I think they go 12-5. And that could be a bold prediction, but I personally I like I'm high on the Jets. I think their defense is going to be really good. They have a lot of gettable games. Um,
all right. Well, for some reason we had a little technical difficulty with that part. For some reason, it just kind of stopped recording. So, um, back to it though. I
we'll
mean,
jump right back into it.
yeah. So we're at the Dolphins. What did you have them ranked at?
I had them third in the division, right behind the Jets, but I think arguably you could change them both around. They could easily be second in the division, but I had them at 11-6. They did have a couple swing games, but I do think a lot of it hinges on Tua being healthy, and how he plays. But like you said, with Tyreek, Jalen Waddle, that's going to be a tough duo to stop, and they got a killer defense. So again, I think you could flip flop the Jets and the Dolphins either way. And last, I do have the Pats down there. I think they do have a top defense, but I just don't know about their offense really. I'm not completely sold on Mac Jones, so I have them at 7-10. I think it's a little generous, but just still with that defense, that return game, all that kind of different stuff, I think they can pull out a couple wins. So I think overall, this is probably going to be the most competitive division by far in the NFL.
I could see that. I was a little bit lower on all of these teams. I'm not gonna lie to you. In terms of wins, so for the Bills, I have the Bills 12-5. Just because of I just feel like they're a great team, and I don't want to say like anything bad about them, but looking at their division, you got to play the Jets twice a year, you got to play the Dolphins twice a year, you got to play the Bengals, you got to play the Chiefs, you got to play the Eagles. Like you have a lot of hard teams. You have to go into Foxborough if they figure it out. I mean, Foxborough the hard used to be a difficult place to play in. So I think I think they were 13-4 last season, I believe, or 14. I don't remember how many wins they had last season. So I have them a little bit worse. I feel like their schedule is a little bit harder, and they have a lot more to make up for it. So Bills 12-5. I also have the Jets 12-5 as well. I think Aaron Rodgers comes in. They have a good quarterback. They already have a great defense. They already have great wide receivers. They have pretty solid running backs. I don't hate their running backs as long as
I
that
think
offensive,
Brees Hall is a stud,
as long as he
but
can
that's
do
if
it.
he
But then
comes back healthy.
you got Michael Carter. Is he still there?
Possibly, but I mean, if Brees Hall is healthy,
Oh yeah, he's gonna be number one.
he's getting the majority of the snaps.
So I think they're going to be at a little bit of contention. I still have the Bills winning this division, but I have the Jets close behind on that. Next, I have the Dolphins. I'm not as high on the Dolphins. I have them 9-7. They're still going to be a good team. I think. I think with like we've been saying with Tyreek and Jalen Waddle, and as long as Tua stays healthy, their defense is good. I think they can pull something out, but ultimately, when you kind of pair them up to what the Bills are at and ultimately what the Jets have done this offseason, I don't really see too many issues to put them at 3, and I think they lose about 7. And then the Patriots 6-11. I was a little bit lower than you on them for the same reasons. I don't trust Mac Jones. Their offense doesn't impress me at all. Their defense is pretty okay. I mean, they did lose Stephon Gilmore, but they still have a pretty solid secondary without him. I mean,
Well, they haven't had Gilmore in a fat minute.
they haven't.
No, Gilmore is on the Cowboys now.
Oh, he was on
He
the
was on the
Panthers.
Colts. He was on the Colts and the Panthers.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. Jeez, what happened to that guy? Anyways, I mean, I'm not high on the Patriots, so I put them still 6-11. I still think they got a lot to do. I have them as one of the worst teams in the AFC, but um, who knows? With Bill Belichick, you can never count that man out. So he might think of something. He might brew something up. So, and then I think for the Jets, Zach Wilson gets out of there. So, and one thing I did want to add to the Cowboys thing is McCarthy is calling the plays. So
Yeah, that's true.
that might put
Yeah,
them
I
a little
forgot to
bit lower.
mention that.
I put them a little bit lower. So I just was thinking about it. And I was like, dang, I forgot about that. So next, let's do the AFC South because I feel like that one's a little bit lackluster.
Yeah,
And
I
then
would
we could do
agree.
the other. Then we could do the other two.
So I had the Jags winning the division, of course. I'm high on them, but I think they still have a lot to put together. I had them at 11-6. I think they take advantage of a weak division, but definitely 11-6 is. I mean, I think the highest I can put them, just because they still need to. I think Lawrence and Ridley need to play a year together in order to take that next step. But they look like they're on the ups. So 11-6. I had the Colts coming in second in the division. I had them at 8-9. I think that could be a little generous, just because I'm not a crazy fan of their team. But
I also have eight and
um,
nine.
if Taylor comes back and plays at the level that he can play, I think he helps incredibly.
Oh, you said the Colts. Sorry, I don't have.
Colts.
I don't have the Colts 8-9. I'm sorry.
I have the Titans at 3. I have the Titans going 5-12. I don't like the Titans at all. I think they're low. I don't like their defense. Derrick Henry's their offense. That's it. I don't like Tannehill. I think he's at the end of his career. I thought he was okay a couple of years ago, but I think he's done. Um, I can't put him any higher than 5 wins. Going against some of the teams that they play against, I just don't see them winning. Um, I could be wrong, and it's Derrick Henry has that ability to just pull a win out here and there, but I just think the Colts overall are a better team this year than the Titans. Of course, Texans last 3-14. I can't give them any more than 3 wins.
I also have 3-14. I just think they're. Yeah, I think even though they got C.J. Stroud, it's not going to really help. Same, I feel like with the Bryce Young situation. Yeah, you got yourself a possible really good quarterback, but your team has a lot of work. So I think they're still rebuilt for a couple years.
Yeah,
Jags, I got 12-5, so not too far off from where you had them. I have them same record as the Bills. I think they are very close to being a very good team in this conference. They're probably could be. I mean, if him and Calvin really just kick it off really good, then their offense is absolutely dominant, and then you have ETN as your running back. Your defense
yeah.
is doing pretty good. You don't got anybody crazy flashy, but they just all are really really
They
good.
get the
So
job done.
yeah. So I mean, there's no way they don't win this division and make a playoff run. I think I have them kind of deep in the playoff. No, I don't really. Kind of. And then the next one I actually have the Titans at 8-9. I also agree. I don't like them, but Derrick Henry just stiff arms little boys. So you just really can't hate on it. Their wide receiving core is atrocious, though. Their defense is not too bad. I mean, I don't hate their defense, so
It's okay
it's okay
at
defense.
best. At best.
I mean, I wouldn't pick them up in fantasy or anything like that,
No.
but I think they could be okay. After that, I have the Colts 7-10. Um, I don't
And that
know
could be
about
realistic. That
yeah,
could
and
be.
I don't know about JT coming back. I don't know how he's gonna do. Their quarterback situation's a little shaky. I mean, they have what's his face as the starter right now, but who knows how the season's gonna go. Um, And I mean, their star wide receiver, I never really liked in Pittman. He's not bad, but he's not a guy I'm wowed by.
I think he needs a little help on the other side.
Yeah, I think maybe if they got him some help and they made it different, absolutely. And then last but not least, I have the Texans. Bottom, I have them as the actual worst team in the NFL next season, 3-14 as well.
I would agree.
Do we want to do? We feel in the North or we feel in the West? Which one do you think is going to be more?
I think the West is going to be more competitive, but the North has better teams overall.
Okay, I agree with that. So let's do the North.
So I had it a little interesting at the top.
Don't piss me
I
off.
had both. I have the Bengals winning the division,
Okay.
but I have both the Bengals and Ravens tying at 13-4. But I have the Bengals taking the division due to winning the
More
divisional
division
games.
games.
Yeah. I I like both teams, and the Ravens hinges a lot on Lamar Jackson. So if Lamar Jackson's healthy and he plays like he should, then yeah, I can see him going 13-4. But if he doesn't, and let's say he gets hurt again or Huntley comes in, then yeah, obviously they're not going to go 13-4. But
Right.
Bengals, yeah, I obviously see them as the clear winner of the division. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd.
Oh yeah.
Their defense is good. Their offense is good. They can go toe to toe with the Chiefs. They can go toe to toe with the Eagles. I think they are going to be one of the best teams in the AFC. So I think this might be one of their years to overcome the Chiefs, in my opinion.
I also agree on the overtaking the Chiefs as well.
Yeah, I think it easily could be one of the best teams in the NFL. So below them, I had the Browns. I had them at 6-11. I I know it could be easily like a 500 team.
Okay.
Um, Again, a lot of this hinges on Deshaun Watson, but
Correct.
I think they have a decent defense. They have a decent offense. As long as Deshaun can come back and put it together, and the play calling is right, and they give more carries to Nick Chubb, I think they'll be an okay team. But I don't see them going toe to toe with the Bengals, the Ravens, the Chiefs, the Bills. I don't see them as that level of team yet,
I agree.
unless Deshaun can put it together like his Texans form. So
Yeah, I agree.
I had the Steelers last in the division easy. I still think they're the worst team in the division. Uh, I have them at 5-12. So that's my thought. I think that they could be good maybe next year. They have a lot of holes to fill. Kenny Pickett still needs to learn the offense and learn the NFL. Uh, but as of right now, I still think they're a 5-win team. They could be better. T.J. Watt should be healthy. Um, Cam Hayward, I think, is still there,
I believe
but
so.
um, I have them as a 5-win team. So, how did you have the North going?
I have the Bengals 14-3. I think this could be their year to kind of make a run for it. I still think the Chiefs take them in terms of standings. But I don't really see the Bengals. I feel I feel the same way on the Bengals. I'm very high on them, especially this is could be their last year with their all-star of an offense. That they kind of just is like is an all or nothing type deal. Next, after that, I have the Ravens 11-6, for the reason of Lamar Jackson and his injury-prone self, OBJ and his injury-prone self, and then their running backs and their injury-prone selves. I feel like there's too many injuries to put them higher. If they're all healthy, they are a very good team. If they are not all healthy, they do not look good at all. Next, after that, I actually have the Steelers better than the Browns. I have the Steelers 8-9. I think They had a pretty solid season last year. I mean, obviously they still sucked, but they still beat good teams. They still beat the Bengals last year. I think they beat them both times, or I know they for sure beat them once. I can't say about the second time. Um, they are,
That was Joe Burrow's bad start. I think that was
yeah,
when he threw like 4 picks or whatever it
yeah. Through four
was.
picks. That's when the Bengals were 0-2 or 0-3, and then they ended up coming back and making a run. But still, nevertheless, they're good. They still have one of the best defensive players in the league in general, and T.J. Watt. And their team really isn't terrible on paper. It's just Kenny Pickett getting figured out with the offense. Their quarterback situation, I think, until they find a quarterback, they're still going to be at the bottom of the pack. But once they kind of figure that out, they'll be good. I don't like Kenny Pickett though as a quarterback. I just really have never enjoyed him.
I wasn't high on that draft class at all.
That draft class was kind of boring in terms of offensive players. They had some good defensive studs come out of it, but offensively, all the quarterbacks that came out, everybody, I'm just like, I wasn't crazy about, at least in
Yeah.
the lower rounds. And then the Browns, I have 5-12. I just feel like if Deshaun Watson can be like kind of what you said, like his Texan self, they can probably make a run to be better than the Steelers. I don't see them better than the Ravens. I don't see them better than the Bengals at all. They still have Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb's a stud, and now that he's going to be getting a bulk of the carries, fantasy wise, that's going to be really huge. But all they have realistically is Amari Cooper, which I've always thought of Amari Cooper as a very similar to like he's pretty good, but you have to pair him with somebody. So like when he was in Dallas, him and CD were together. That's why they looked so solid, was because Dak had 2 targets to throw to, which makes it look better because it's hard to double team. But if you double team Amari Cooper and then you take out that run, I really don't see too much of the Browns offense dominating that well. So I still have them pretty low. I think they draft pretty high for some offensive help for Deshaun Watson, and then we should see what they do after that. So,
Fair enough.
last but not least, this stupid division. I have the Chiefs. This is the AFC West, by the way, and I'm only saying that because they beat us. Chiefs 14-3. You still can't just combat the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs still go first overall, get the first round bye going into the season, or going into the playoffs. I mean, they've just been. They're just them. They're just that guy. So they when Andy Reid's your coach and you guys have such offensive powerhouse, like there's really nothing you can do about that. So I think that, I mean, we'll see with Kadarius Toney and MVS as their wide receivers, and now they don't have Juju, and they just picked up another wide receiver. I forget who it was. I think they drafted a wide receiver.
Yeah, there was
Um,
like 1 or 2 that they drafted.
yeah, so we'll see. We'll see. I mean, I still think they're going to be really good. Clyde's Edwards-Helaire comes back. Pacheco's there. I mean, they're McKinnon. I mean, they're just good. I mean, there's nothing really to say. The second one, I am a little high on it, and I put the Broncos second.
Wow.
I put the Broncos second because they got a new coach. Russell Wilson hopefully kind of figured out this offense with Sean Payton. They have still, I mean, as long as they still keep Sutton and Jerry Jeudy as their wide receivers, they have a decent running back. Their defense is pretty solid. I think they go 10 wins, 7 losses in this, in second place in the division. I'm kind of high on the Broncos.
That's bold.
I was high on them last year, and this is why I wanted to save this one for last, because this one's kind of, besides the Seattle winning the division, that one kind of, a lot of people will probably argue for Seattle to win that division. The Broncos second is probably pretty high, but I think with Sean Payton as your head coach, and you have all-star quarterback who just couldn't figure it out last year. It could have been because of the coaching. It could have been just because of his own self. And then you pair it with really good wide receivers, a pretty solid defense, and a meh running back. I mean, he's not great, but he got hurt last year. I think they still are pretty good. So 10-7 there. I have the Chargers right behind
bold.
them. It is bold because the Chargers are in this division. I have the Chargers 9-8. I just am not high on the Chargers because they are just very inconsistent. They can be really good or they can be really bad. It really depends on how Herbert plays. It really depends on how Eckler plays. Not really so much on Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. I feel like they perform no matter what, as long as they can get the ball to them.
They're hurt quite a bit though.
The injury prone with both, because both of them get hurt. Both of them get hurt. Eckler's pretty solid. He doesn't really get hurt. I really feel like the Chargers going downhill. I've been high on them for so long that I cannot do it anymore. I keep getting hurt in the end. So I put Chargers. I mean, they're not. I mean, they could overall come to second place because they're only one lot or one win behind the Broncos. But still third, and then last place I have the Raiders. I still have the Raiders 7-10. I think they'll still be good now that they got Jimmy G. Josh Jacobs is doing really good. Their defense is pretty good with Max Crosby. I mean, they have a really good defense. Offensively, Josh Jacobs really figured it out last year. He had a breakout year last year, which I've been high on Josh Jacobs. He's burnt me in the past, so I might be high on him again this year. But I think they have 7 wins. I think though that I personally believe that'll be one of the again best divisions to watch, just because of all of them made a lot of, besides the Chargers, the Chiefs, Broncos, and Raiders all made a lot of changes that makes it more fun. Especially with Sean Payton to help Russell Wilson. As long as they can get that figured out, I think that makes it a fun division to watch.
Yeah, I mean, I had it flipped around a little bit, and for some of the reasons that you mentioned, now I do have the Chiefs at 13-4, so
Okay.
I have them with the same record as the Bengals, same record as the Ravens, and slightly worse than the Bills. So
So you
I
think
think
the
they,
Bills go first overall?
I thought the Bills were going to go 14-3. So I mean, we'll see. It could change. But I think the Chiefs take a step down this year, um, strictly because the talent's starting to catch up to them, and they don't have like a crazy receiving core. Um, I think that there's still a lot of rookies that need to figure out what to do in the NFL over on at the Chiefs, but they're still going to be a great team. I think Kelsey's starting to get up there in age too, so we don't know if we're going to start to see his decline or not. I hope not, but
You got that dog
you
in
know,
him. Ugh.
for sake of argument, you never know. So I do have him at 13-4 and winning the division, but I had the Chargers at number 2.
That's
I think
pretty. Yeah.
I think they come back. I honestly I think Brandon Staley's calling the offensive plays is not a good idea. They got Kellen Moore from the Cowboys to call
They
their
did.
plays, so I think that helps Herbert quite a bit. And if Allen and Williams are both healthy, Eckler's healthy, I think that they could have a good year behind them. They get J.C. Jackson back healthy. They get their Derwin James back healthy. I mean, they get their defense back healthy. So I think they come in at 10-8. I think they're a good enough football team to make the playoffs, but I don't know. It could swing. If Herbert's injured or somebody gets hurt and we start to see those effects again, then yeah, they could slip down there a little bit. But I actually had the Raiders coming in third. I think them adding Jimmy G gives them a little bit of the same Derek Carr effect, but
Damn.
I think that they could be okay. I think that their defense has taken a step at least in going in the right direction. We're starting to see Josh Jacobs break out, like we said. You still have Devontae Adams there. Um, I think that they are good enough to go 8-9 at least. It's close to 500, but not quite there. Um, I think if they figure it out and Jimmy G plays really well, then they could become a 10-win team. Um, I think they just still have a couple more holes to fill through the draft. Maybe this coming year, the year after that, they could be a force to be reckoned with in a couple of years. But right now, I think they're average. So I had the Broncos last, and not by much. I only had them at 7-10. So I think adding Sean Payton does help. But I think it takes a year for Russell Wilson to get used to Sean Payton. Sean Payton's been out of the league for a little bit. He's coming into a whole new team because he was with the Saints forever. So I think it takes him a little bit to get it figured out, but I think eventually they do. They start winning some games. but I had them at 7-10 just because of the way that they played last year. A lot of it hinges on Javonte being healthy, uh, their receiving core performing at a level. If they trade Jerry Judy or not, I don't know. So there's a lot of questions in the Broncos for me that makes them that low for me. So
I think they're going to be. I'm pretty high on them.
I mean,
I was pretty
again,
high on them. I was pretty high on them last year, and I got burnt, so I'll get burnt again. This one goes out to my baby girl, Jeremy. I did that for you. Did that for you.
um, I mean, again, yeah, it's going to be a competitive division, so it could go any way. It could swing. I
Yeah.
mean, obviously, we're probably going to see the Chiefs at the top, but anything below
Yeah.
that could go either way.
Yeah, so to go kind of into playoffs based off of the regular season, I have Philly first, getting the first round bye, Minnesota 2, Seattle 3, Saints 4, 49ers, Lions, and Cowboys 5, 6, and 7. So that would mean the Cowboys play Minnesota, Seattle plays the Lions, 49ers play the Saints. Then we come back, then it's Philly plays the 49ers, Minnesota plays the Lions. So I think the Saints and Seattle both get knocked out. I like them, and I think Seattle's a good team, but I don't think they have what it takes to kind of take over. And then I think Philly, Minnesota um, come back, and then ultimately Philly in the Super Bowl. I think. I think overall Philly has the best team. It's not really. I'm trying not to be biased because I'm an Eagles fan. I just realistically believe that. AFC, I got Chiefs 1, Bengals 2, Jags 3, Bills 4, Jets 5, Ravens 6, Broncos 7. So I have the Broncos actually making the playoffs based off of my standings. So then it would be the Chiefs get a first round bye. So then Bengals play the Broncos, Jags play the Ravens, Bills play the Jets. So then I have Chiefs, Bengals, Jags, Bills, which it was I think last year is the same thing. So then I have Chiefs and Bills. I think the Bills finally do it and take down the Kansas City Chiefs. I think we are done this year. We give it to another team on the AFC side. So it would be the Bills and Bengals, and then ultimately I think the Bengals make their run. So my Super Bowl prediction, lock it in, Eagles, Bengals, baby.
Who do you have winning?
Go Birds.
You know what? You want to know something funny? And we didn't discuss this at all.
No, we didn't.
Not even close. Not even a little tidbit.
We don't really like with this stuff. Like when we're doing this, we'll talk about like our news and stuff like that. But when we get to the bulk of this stuff, it is just our
It's
research,
blind.
and
It's blind, baby.
we don't sway each other. So we have our own thing that we talk about. So this isn't like we script it or anything like that. We have our notes, and then we just go on from there.
That's it. So I didn't go in depth into my playoff bracket like Logan did. I just kind of named off my division winners, my wild card, and who I thought the Super Bowl was going to be. So my winners obviously were the Eagles, 49ers, Vikings, and Saints. My wild cards, I had the Lions, Giants, and Seahawks. So those were my wild card teams. My division winners were Bills, Chiefs, Bengals, and Jaguars for the AFC, and then Jets, Dolphins, and Ravens as the wild card. So overall, my Super Bowl prediction was the Eagles versus Bengals with the Eagles winning.
Sir.
So there we have it. You heard it here first.
You heard it here first. If this actually happens, I'm the smartest person alive. Honestly, we are.
I am the smartest man alive.
I'm the world's greatest detective.
I found it. I found it.
All right. Well, I mean, yeah, dude. Overall, it's gonna be a fun season to watch. I'm like really excited about this schedule. I think the schedule is gonna be really good. There was a couple games. They have to do it for some of these divisions that just suck.
Yeah.
You got to give some of these teams some prime time stuff. So that's always going to happen every year. But ultimately, the bulk of it, very good prime time games, very good scheduling, and I think it's going to be a really, really, really fun season.
Yeah, overall, I love what they did with the schedule. I think there's a lot more closer games, better matchups, week to week stuff. We're not seeing the garbage on Thursday night. We're not seeing the garbage on Monday night. We're seeing some better teams on there, so I think they actually listened a little bit and just got rid of the Colts versus Texans on Sunday night. You know, fuck all that.
I remember when I had my bachelor party. We were like, "Oh, dude, it's gonna be." We thought it was the 49ers and somebody. We get
Yeah.
to the back. We rented an Airbnb for my bachelor party. In the backyard, they had a giant projector with a bunch of couches, a fireplace because it was a little chilly at that time. We're like, "Oh, dude, let's turn this on." It was who was it? The Falcons and the Panthers.
Yeah, I think it was the
We
Falcons.
were.
It was
I
we
was
were pissed.
pissed. I
It
was
was such
pissed.
a dog shit game,
Yeah.
and so I'm glad that they started putting the better teams on the primetime games like it should be. So hopefully they stick to their guns and move forward like that from
Yeah.
now on. So
But other than that, guys, appreciate everybody listening. Look out for some more content. We should be getting those microphones in pretty soon. So IRL content's coming. We might record some even tonight because we haven't done that yet with bowling.
yeah. So we do have bowling tonight, and then we do have plans to go golfing on Saturday, I believe. So
Saturday, yes.
we might be doing some golfing content on Saturday too. So.
That'd be fun. That'd be fun. So we'll see how it kind of plays out. But we got some other things in the works too. We're thinking about doing some challenges and stuff like that with sports. There's a couple creators on TikTok that have inspired me to do some of that stuff. So hopefully in the upcoming time we will get some stuff going. But other than that, dude, this was a great one. I feel like we got a lot to do.
We did. And before we check out, I do want to mention, just make sure you go ahead and follow us on everything again. If you are following us on TikTok, just go ahead and look us up on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all that kind of good stuff. Follow us on there too. We're doing a jersey giveaway for each one of them. So make sure that you follow, share, comment, like, drop all the love. It helps a ton. Other than that, yeah, hopefully we'll get to that 1,000 soon enough, and we'll be able to pick a winner.
I say by the end of the month, I think we hit 1,000 on TikTok.
I think we'll be there.
I think we're at a good rate where we've been growing a lot to where we can do it. So, other than that, guys, appreciate everyone for listening. Like Matt said, make sure to share, follow, show all the love, comment. We'll be kind of starting to do all of our fantasy stuff, getting that stuff ready to go. Probably with the next week, we were talking about possibly doing a mock draft live on the podcast.
Yep.
Which should be pretty fun. So look out for that. And other than that, dude, yeah, it was a lot of fun. And
we'll catch you next time.
Yeah, go Birds, baby. Fly, Eagles, fly. Ooh.